Hey, well, good evening. How's it going? It's so nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mike McGuire, and I'm honored to represent the North Coast in the state Senate. And we are thrilled to be with you tonight. This is really a momentous evening after a momentous week for the Great Redwood Trail. And we are going to be focused on the next big step of this project, and that is focusing on the launch of the Great Redwood Trail Master Plan. And we are finally here after 4 years of challenge. Thanks to your hard work, we're finally here this evening about the launch, the Great Redwood Trail Master Plan. Just got word, we have about 2,700 folks all throughout Northern California joining us tonight. Good evening. Thank you again for joining us. You're going to hear a comprehensive report on the Great Redwood Trail this evening. We're going to start off with an update on where things stand with the trail and introduce you to the folks who are going to be overseeing the master plan over the next couple to 3 years. Then we're going to get into the most crucial part of it tonight, is hearing from all 2,700 of you. We're going to be taking your questions live this evening. Feel free to email us. In fact, we encourage you to drop a line right now, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. We welcome your live questions, your comments, your concerns, your criticisms, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. If you're watching us live on Facebook, simply drop your question, your comment into the chat, and we'll get to you here as soon as possible. Look, I hope that you would agree with me. We are so lucky to live in this remarkable place. The North Coast is like nowhere else on earth. Ancient redwoods and wild and scenic rivers, lush vineyards, massive forests, rugged coastlines, and we are home to more diverse species and ecosystems than anywhere else in the United States of America. And we're truly blessed. And that's why 4 years ago, together, we took a stand. We took a stand and we took a good, hard look at the hot mess of the crumbling North Coast Railroad. And we said, we can and we will do better. We can turn this decades-long disaster into a shining gem that can be enjoyed by generations and create desperately needed economic development in some of the state's most rural communities. Opportunities to build a project like the Great Redwood Trail, they come along maybe once in a few generations. And let me tell you, we are grabbing the bull by the horns, and we're going to make this once in a few generation opportunity actually happen. And hope that you're all ready to go, because there is big momentum on our side. This 320-mile long trail running on the old North Coast Railroad corridor between Humboldt Bay and San Francisco Bay will be the largest converted rail trail in America once we are done with it. The trail will become the spine of the North Coast, with numerous trails and other recreational opportunities branching off, connecting our communities, connecting our state parks and national forests. Now, it wasn't easy getting to where we're at today, so let's just do a real quick recap. Here's what we've done. First and foremost, I'm thrilled to announce that for the first time in over 3 decades, the North Coast Railroad Authority, the old authority that used to govern this rail line, is no more. The Great Redwood Trail Agency has now been officially sworn in, and their whole mission is to work with each and every one of you on this Zoom tonight, to work with each and every one of you to build out the trail. And you know who makes up this Great Redwood Trail Agency? Our neighbors. They're our elected officials. And you can stop them in the grocery store and tell them what you think about the Great Redwood Trail. And officially now, we have a California state agency that's now in charge of the trail, the extremely capable State Coastal Conservancy, who we're going to hear from in just a couple of moments. And we actually have the dollars in the bank. So many questions have come up over the past 4 years about how the hell are you going to be able to pay to build out the Great Redwood Trail? Well, I'm thrilled to report tonight that we have the funding sources for all of the trail master plan, and we have money in the bank for construction. We're able to secure $10.5 million in state funds to pay for the staffing and master plan of the Great Redwood Trail. This is going to take us through the next several years of hard work in planning the trail. And $500 million $500 million has been secured for the State Coastal Conservancy for projects that will help us fight our climate crisis and build trails of statewide significance. That includes the Great Redwood Trail. Now, this is huge news and a real game changer. Never before has so much funding been available for these type of projects like the Great Redwood Trail. And we're moving forward now to permanently protect the rail line to keep it in the public's hands forever. And this hasn't been easy. As I'm sure you all remember, there were two rail shippers that decided to challenge the Great Redwood Trail and put in applications to take over all or part of the line. The first in separate motion was by the toxic coal train. A separate and non-related motion was with the skunk train. And when the coal train originally put in their application, the North Coast erupted in protest over the thought of thousands of coal cars running through our communities and along our rivers each and every day. And because of your advocacy, it worked. We're able to beat back the coal train from taking over. And I'm thrilled to report that the same is now true for the skunk train's attempt to take over a portion of the Great Redwood Trail. Last Thursday evening, after a year of reviewing the application from both the Great Redwood Trail as well as the skunk train, the Federal Surface Transportation Board spoke decisively and decided in the Great Redwood Trail's favor and rejected the skunk train's application. And this is breaking news. This is just going public. We just got the Surface Transportation Board's latest opinion. Just a couple hours ago, the Surface Transportation Board officially approved the rail line from Willits to Humboldt Bay for the trail and denied all other rail requests that were in front of them. This is amazing news. This is huge and finally clears the way for us to move forward with the final rail banking, protecting that rail line in perpetuity forever for trails. Rail banking of 175 miles of the rail line for the Great Redwood Trail from Willits up to the Humboldt Bay. All right, so that's the breaking news. This is how we got here. Let's talk about the master plan. This is the meat and potatoes of tonight. So this is the next critical step in this process. We need to have a master plan for the trail that will help guide us over the next few years of construction. This is what the plan's going to do. The plan is going to help us determine the trail construction costs. It's going to help us to determine the alignment, what our operating costs will be now and in the years to come. It's going to get down into the nitty gritty, talking about the type of material that will be used for each of the segments. A reminder, about 90% of this trail will be a backcountry trail, dirt and gravel. It's going to give us a timeline for build out. It's going to talk about long-term governance. It's going to look at the potential environmental impacts, and it's going to focus on wildfire prevention and security measures. And of course, the community, each and every one of you, will be front and center the entire way of the master plan over the next 2 to 3 years. The Great Redwood Trail Agency and the Coastal Conservancy is going to oversee this process, and we're going to go into details in a minute, but please be assured that you can expect numerous public meetings from communities to kitchen tables with local trail experts, adjacent property owners, tribal leaders, community members, local business officials, elected officials, and of course, neighbors. All right, so you heard from me. Now it's time to be able to hear from the experts. I want to take a moment to say thank you to this first person that we're going to hear from. She is an amazing leader, a climate champion, a champion for our environment, and her name is Carol Hart. She is the chairwoman of the Great Redwood Trail Agency, and we couldn't have anyone better. In addition to that, she is an amazing attorney, and you do not want to get in Carol Hart's way. She's going to be talking to us about the next steps for the Great Redwood Trail Agency. Chairwoman Hart, it's so wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. We are grateful to partner with you. Take it away, and congratulations on this latest big win.
Thank you so much, Senator McGuire. Can everybody hear me? I'll just look at my colleagues. Great. Well, I just want to say in the deepest and most profound way possible that none of this would be happening if it wasn't for Senator McGuire. This was his vision. This was his concept. This was his dream. And we have all gotten on board because it is fantastic and it is transformational. So I hope we're all here. We know we have a lot of questions. We know we have a lot of challenges, but we're here to celebrate really tonight as we talk about the master plan. So let me just dig in and talk with you about a couple things. I don't want to take a lot of time because I know there's a lot of questions, but there have been a lot of questions regarding what is the right of appeal from the Surface Transportation Board decisions that we can move forward now with rail banking. There is an appeal period, but I will say that from our perspective and the perspective of our lawyers, a petition for review is highly unlikely, and any petition filed would likely be unsuccessful because the board's decision is very well reasoned and it's squarely based on the law and the record before the agency. Mendocino Railway, which as the senator just said, did file an OFA, but in a recent news article, they indicated they are not planning on appealing, and the STB also found that the Mendocino Railway did not have the financial resources to buy and rehabilitate the line, even using their own numbers. So we feel like it's full speed ahead, and the decision that the STB issued just today that I'm holding in my hand here, probably the most exciting part of it is that what's called a NITU, or basically a right for us to move forward with the trail, has been granted. And they say that because GRTA is both the owner of the line and the trail sponsor, negotiations that normally take place to reach a trail use agreement may not be needed. It really is just a matter of our telling the Surface Transportation Board that we intend to move forward with the trail and it's full speed ahead. So we have overcome what I consider to be major obstacles, major difficulties, and here we are. I want to thank my fellow board members, and I want to tell you, as the senator said, these are our friends, these are our neighbors, and they are advocates for both the trail, but also for you, their neighbors and the trail neighbors. They're totally bought in with the absolute need for extensive public outreach. Many of them are local electeds from Humboldt, Mendocino, Sonoma, and Marin counties. Our vice chair is Steve Madrone, who all you Humboldt folks I'm sure know, and even beyond. He's a Humboldt County supervisor. We have Damon Connolly, a Marin County supervisor, David Hagley from Healdsburg City Council, James Campbell, who was recently on the Belvedere City Council from Marin, Jeff Hunterlack from Eureka, John Hashak and Mo Mulhern for both Mendocino County supervisors, and Melanie Bagby from Cloverdale City Council. So as you can all see, all of these folks have great support from their local areas, and we are all here. All of our emails are on our new website, and we are looking forward to hearing from you. The role of the board is to support this planning effort by offering both our individual and our group expertise on the issues that are important for each portion of the trail. What matters to those living along the trail? What matters to those who will visit and become trail users? How can we facilitate the outdoor recreation economy along the trail and in the surrounding area to benefit users and businesses and the recreation economy, which we've been talking about a lot? It's huge in the state of California. But I think most of all is, how can we, together with all of you, help to create a trail that will become known as one of the great and most inspiring recreational experiences anywhere? And on that note, I'd like to turn this over to the incredible Karen Geer, who is our executive director and simultaneously is the North Coast Regional Manager for the Coastal Conservancy. She stepped up to staff as executive director and also build an incredible team that she's going to tell you about. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Senator, to then turn it over to Karen. And thank you all so much for being here. It's wonderful. It means a lot to all of us.
Chairwoman Hart, we're grateful for your leadership and your hard work. Chairwoman Hart is going to be sticking with us here tonight to be able to answer your questions. Again, we're taking your live questions. We're getting a few dozen questions in since the last 15 minutes. Senator.McGuire at senate.ca.gov. Karen Geer is truly one of the best. We are so grateful that she is leading up the amazing staff team of the Great Redwood Trail Agency. She's going to be talking about what her role is going to be, what the Coastal Conservancy's role is going to be how they selected Alta Design, which we're going to hear from Devin Young in just a moment, and then also how this process is going to roll out in the months to come. McGuire, it's so wonderful to have you. You are a resident of the North Coast as well. You have an active and engaged career on the North Coast. This is you are no stranger to our neck of the woods. McGuire, take it away, and we're grateful to be working with you.
Well, thank you, Senator. And it is such a joy to be working on this project. This is really an amazing thing to be a part of. I thought I would start first with just a quick summary of what is the Coastal Conservancy and why is the Coastal Conservancy working on the Great Redwood Trail. So the Coastal Conservancy is a small state agency. We are now up to a total of about 80 people statewide who work to protect, restore, and enhance the coast of California and to provide public access. And we were created back in the late 70s as sort of the companion to the Coastal Commission, who was, of course, our regulatory sister agency who issues permits and regulations. And the Conservancy was created to do the opposite side of it, really, is to do projects and to get out in front and create opportunities to restore the coast and to make sure that the people of California can enjoy the coast. And over the last 4 decades, we've developed an expertise in multi-benefit projects and projects not just along the coast, but also within the 9 Bay Area counties and moving up and down rivers. So we are in charge or help to support the Santa Ana River Parkway project, which likewise is a long trail that moves along the river through many jurisdictions. We support the San Francisco Bay Trail and the San Francisco Bay Ridge Trail. And in fact, the 2 staff people that we were able to hire to work on this project are both veterans of the Ridge Trail, among other projects. Louisa Morris, who is, those of you from Mendocino County will be familiar with. She had many years of career with the Mendocino Land Trust, the Coastal Land Trust, the County of Mendocino, amongst others. So she's a great asset to us for particularly Mendocino County, but just also her expertise in trail development. And then we were able to snag Simone Najon de Lastan. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Simone. I got to go back to my years of French class, but anyway, Simone comes to us with also years of trails of experience, and most recently with the Bay Area Ridge Trail Council, working with communities and helping to involve and engage local folks in the development and planning of their trails. So the Conservancy was asked by Senator McGuire and the legislature to take on a leadership role in doing the master planning for this project and also to help to be the interim staff for the Great Redwood Trail Agency. And the legislature appropriated $10 million to the Conservancy just to do just that, to help move this process forward. So the first thing we did after we started looking for additional staff with expertise to work on this was to develop a request for proposals to look for consulting firms to help with the master planning process. And this spring we had a number of teams propose, and we went through a selection process, interviewed the top 2 teams, and we selected Alta, the consultants that you will hear from tonight, due to their experience both working on the trail corridor, but also their strong ties with the local community and bringing in local experts to work on the community engagement, because we recognize for this project, a project of this magnitude, crossing so many jurisdictions, so many different issues, the backcountry to urban situations, that we needed a really strong public engagement component. And in fact, about half the budget that we have for this project, for this phase of the planning project, is actually to make sure that the communities are engaged. And that's the communities include tribal groups and entities, local nonprofits, the cities, the counties, the landowners, the ranching community, really across the board. We are looking to engage everybody who has an interest in this trail and everybody who has a stake in what happens, and to flesh out what the issues are, and both good and bad, the exciting opportunities and the things that scare people, and work through this master planning process to help address as many of those as we can up front. So I don't want to get too much into what Alta is going to do because I don't want to steal their thunder, but I think I'll kick it back to you, Senator McGuire, and you can introduce the Alta team.
Thank you so much. That's Karen Gear. She is going to be running the show with the board of directors for the Great Redwood Trail Agency. There has been a commitment that we made long ago, 4 years ago. It's a promise made and a promise kept. We're going to do this trail right, not fast. There are legitimate concerns and questions that neighbors have, that communities have, that farmers have. And we're going to be working with you every step of the way as we kick off the master plan, working with our tribal communities and our cities and counties, working with our business leaders and agricultural leaders to build this trail right, not fast, and to be able to answer the questions about what the heck a master plan does, what it's going to get into, and how we're going to communicate with each and every one of you. We're really grateful that Devin Young is with us. Devin is a senior planner with Alta. He is one of the best trail experts in the nation. We couldn't ask for anyone better. He's going to start out his presentation focusing on creating a rail to trail isn't a new concept. In fact, 25,000 miles of freight line across America has now been transitioned to trail. He's going to talk about some of those examples. He's going to do a deep dive into the master plan. Devin, it is so good to have you with us. Good evening, sir. Devin's going to do a 20-minute presentation, so bear with us. We're going to give Devin a 2-minute heads up. And just a reminder, we're taking your questions, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Without further ado, Devin Young, take it away.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Senator. Let me go ahead and start by sharing my screen. And I'll look at my colleagues and see, how does that look? Look good? Great. So yeah, so we'll spend the next, hopefully about 17 minutes or so going through an overview of the Great Redwood Trail, the Master Plan and Community Engagement Program. This process we're going to be embarking on for the next 24 to 36 months. But I'm hoping that we can spend a couple minutes at the end taking a look at our interactive web tool so that we can introduce you to that and you can start to engage immediately. So Senator had mentioned that we were going to begin the program this evening, or the presentation, excuse me, by looking at some of the other rail trail examples across the US, but we're also going to be taking a look at some of the work that was previously done, the predecessor work as part of that SB 1029 task force assessment, and then also look ahead at what some of the upcoming work is on both the planning side as well as the engagement side. And then we're really going to emphasize and talk in depth about how you can continue to stay involved and how we can continue to get your input so you can really help us craft the vision for this master plan. So Director Gear, as well as Chairwoman Hart, described some of the work that's been done previously, and you can see they're representing here at the top the Coastal Conservancy and the Great Redwood Trail Agency. They're really leading this endeavor, and we're here as the consultant team to really support those efforts. So Senator McGuire introduced me. My name is Devin Young, and so I work for Alta Planning and Design. But I wanted to just bring up here the depth of expertise that we have on this team. So we have a range of skills. Senator McGuire mentioned that we have skills in and along the corridor. So this team that was compiled to pursue this Great Redwood Trail Master Plan and Community Engagement Program, we've delivered more than 60 different projects of various sizes and scales in and along the corridor itself. Over a dozen of them, we've done it together. Director Gear mentioned that we have local outreach and engagement expertise along the corridor, and that's coupled with geotechnical expertise, habitat and river restoration expertise, environmental planning, civil and structural engineering. So that's all to say that we have a deep bench of experts to help us deliver this really complex and very exciting project. So without further ado, let's begin by just kind of recapping what are rail trails. I know that Laura Cohen from the Rails to Trails Conservancy has been on these town halls previously and given great input on rails to trails across the US, but just wanted to reiterate it here. And as Senator McGuire said, over 25,000 miles of rail trails implemented across the US and over 1,000 in California. And that rail trails, they are proven to support recreation, economic development, tourism, environmental preservation in both towns or urban areas and rural communities across the US. And I wanted to show a couple of examples of those, some kind of marquee examples. So the Katy Trail State Park, maybe some of you are familiar with it. It's actually the longest continuous rail trail in the country, 225 miles across the state of Missouri. And with luck someday, or not with luck, just with hard work and with Chairwoman Hart at the helm, we'll get there. The Great Redwood Trail could hold that mantle and be the longest rail trail in the country. But right now, the Katy Trail in Missouri is the longest at 225, and it passes through over 40 rural communities. I think that's really important because there's a parallel with what we're trying to to do here along the Great Redwood Trail corridor. Passing through those communities, it spurred economic development. Things like bed and breakfasts, restaurants, wineries, all along the trail have popped up since its development. And as Senator McGuire said, a bulk of this corridor will be soft surface, backcountry trail. Well, in the case of the Katy Trail, it's largely crushed limestone for hiking, jogging, cycling, and it does have limited use for equestrians or people riding horses. Another example, so a bit shorter, the Elroy-Sparta Trail in Wisconsin, but it's really important because it's over 30 miles rail trail, but it interconnects a 100+ mile network. And I think that's really important as well. This corridor is long, but it has the potential to interconnect a substantial corridor over the 300+ miles and really create a robust rail trail network as well as interconnected recreation and transportation network. In the case of the Elroy-Sparta Trail, passes through 6 rural communities where there's been a big emphasis on trail-oriented infrastructure, things like bike rentals, restaurants, and really cool, actually dedicated shuttle service for those that want to travel just to and from the trail itself, so you can access that. And then I wanted to take a look at a California example. So the Biz Johnson National Recreation Trail. So this is in Lassen. It's 20+ miles, but there's a parallel between Great Redwood Trail and the Biz Johnson in that it really connects rugged areas along the Susan River. And it's got functional reuse of old railroad trusses to interconnect this trail. Similar things that we're trying to do along the Great Redwood Trail. It's also re-envisioned some of the trail the rail depots to become real event centers and really jumping off points for activities along the corridor. And this provides access to iconic areas, like I mentioned, but also supports things like jogging, mountain biking, equestrian use, and river activities like access to the Susan River for fishing. So just in summary, rails trails, they are local amenities, they are statewide destinations, and they are safe, connected, accessible, comfortable trails for walking and biking. But I think most importantly is that these are really cornerstones of statewide recreation systems. And they do have that prestige of a state or national park. And that's what we're trying to achieve here with the Great Redwood Trail. So next, I want to jump into some of the previous work I mentioned, and I'll be brief because it was a pretty robust document that was developed as part of the State Bill 1029 task force. But really just in summary, some of the key takeaways is that the majority of the corridor is generally intact and has great physical conditions for trail construction, which is really important. And if developed, when developed, this will interconnect the Northern California communities from the Bay Area all the way to the North Coast. There's great opportunities, as Senator McGuire mentioned, daily mobility improvements, recreation, fire prevention, river preservation, wildlife corridors, economic vibrancy. These are all components of the Great Redwood Trail and all components that will be studied as part of this master planning effort. And not to be too much of a Pollyanna, but there are challenging areas along the corridor, right? Remote segments, some geotechnical or slope stability challenges, things like right-of-way obstruction, and former rail trail infrastructure that we'll be contending with and ready to sink our teeth into and start to design for as we move into this Great Redwood Trail master planning effort. So I know many of you just have asked the very important question of where is this corridor? So it's a long corridor and it's hard to capture on a single slide. So we broke it up into 2 slides here, beginning up north in the Humboldt and Trinity counties, where there's over 100 miles or 140 miles, excuse me, traveling through Humboldt and Trinity, connecting locations like Rio Dell, Fortuna, Eureka, Arcata, Blue Lake, all along this corridor. And then through Mendocino County, where there's over 100 miles that are traveling down to the Mendocino County line, because that's the extent of this corridor study. Over 100 miles traveling through Mendocino County, interconnecting places like Hopland, Ukiah, Willits, and then all across that 250+ miles of corridor that will be studied as part of this Great Redwood Trail Master Plan. We'll be interacting and engaging with federally recognized tribal nations and associations, and that's really an emphasis and a key first step in our engagement. So there's been a lot of talk. We kind of talked broadly about 24, 36 months. What does that start to look like? So we've captured it here. This is a fairly succinct schedule. It is up on the web tool, the website that I'll give you the web address for here shortly. but just snapshots at some of the key milestones. So starting in 2022, where we are right here, right, we're here to listen and learn, and this is really our information gathering period. So over fall, winter, and then moving into spring of next year, it's using these tools like the web tool that we've developed, having these kind of kitchen table conversations as part of the focus groups and focus group meetings that we plan to have, and as well as forming and engaging with the technical advisory committee, all up and down the corridor, so that we can start to engage and better understand the needs along this corridor. From there, it'll be building consensus. So this is where we're going to be looking at developing actual recommendations. So thinking about trail design guidelines. So what is the trail going to look and feel like? How is it going to respond to the range of rugged terrain? And then also thinking about evaluation criteria. So this is a long corridor, and implementing it in segments is really paramount. So how are we going to develop evaluation criteria, and then really begin to prioritize all those segments and better understand what makes the most sense to implement first. From there, it's moving into the refinement phase. So really looking at developing actual conceptual designs for the corridor. So this is our opportunity to really tee up those priority segments, get them ready to move into environmental clearance, and then eventually into implementation. This is also where we're going to be defining our design criteria for the trail corridor, and making sure that that moves forward so you have consistency across the entire corridor and it's implemented consistently. And then in 2024, in the winter, early 2024, moving into the spring, really moving through the master plan and sharing that draft master plan out, getting comments, and also reviewing the final master plan. So that's a snapshot. There's a lot of content in there, but that's really our roadmap for or trail map, I should say, on how we're going to implement this work. So two main tasks as part of this work. The first is the master plan itself. So the planning work, so I'll start there. This is, we've talked about it before, but it's an extremely nuanced project that's intending to address many needs. Karen mentioned the multi-benefit nature of this trail corridor. And we really intend to look at things like trail safety, so exploring frameworks for community partnerships to develop things like ranger programs so that people feel safe and comfortable on the corridor. Fire resilience, designing the corridor so that it actually enhances access for our first responders and CAL FIRE individuals that will be helping us fight fires in remote locations. Economic vitality, so exploring opportunities right along the trail itself. I mentioned some of the other examples along other rail trails. We look for opportunities along Great Redwood Trail. Recreation, so camping, other trail amenities along the corridor. Stream health, improved wildlife corridors through things like reestablishment of native vegetation and really enhancement of habitat. So the planning phase is very comprehensive and is going to bite off a lot, but that's critical for a project of this stature, to address all the benefits that Great Redwood Trail will bring to the 250 plus miles that we'll be studying as part of this master plan. And then Director Gear mentioned that the bulk of the budget is laid out for engagement, and that's going to be a real priority. We're going to be engaging. I showed you that schedule and gave you critical milestones, but our intention is to be engaging throughout the life of the project. And this is really a snapshot of kind of who, how, and why we intend to engage. So who will be engaging? Adjacent landowners, of course, communities along the corridor, and tribal nations and tribal associations. I mentioned that we're really emphasizing and beginning that process immediately. Historically underrepresented communities, so people who maybe have not been involved in the planning process previously. We're looking and working with our partners on our team to find creative ways to really engage with as many people as possible. People who use active transportation, but also people who are interested in using active transportation. And of course, youth and seniors. We're looking to develop a trail facility that is for all ages and abilities. And I think that's really important. How do we intend to do it? Well, we've got two bulk buckets here online. So we'll be talking a bit later about the web tool that we've developed, but website, survey, web map, and then online community meetings will all be in our toolbox throughout the online engagement process. And then of course, in person. So focus groups, pop-up events. Senator McGuire mentioned, those kitchen table conversations. Those are what we're going to be looking to have throughout the life of this project, as well as in-person community meetings where we can engage and have these great and inspiring conversations, but also address really tough and challenging issues as well. And then why do we intend to do this? Really to inform the vision of the plan itself. I mean, this is your master plan, and our goal is to get your feedback so that we can address and resolve concerns early on. So I believe we'll have enough time, but this is a snapshot. This is our first and very exciting opportunity to engage with you all. So we have a web tool that's been developed, the Great Redwood Trail Plan.org. So that's down there in the bottom right. We'll be bringing that website up to the forefront as many times as possible. We'll also be sending that out to everyone who registered tonight so you all can engage. But this is a snapshot of that website where we have things like an interactive map so you can scale in and out and really understand the corridor throughout its 250 plus miles, and actually leave notes and let our team know what you think some of the greatest challenges are, and also what some of the greatest opportunities are, so we can begin to document that. There's actually an online survey, which we hope that you'll spend a few minutes to take, as well as signing up for things like our e-newsletter so you can continue to stay involved. Since we do have time, I'm going to skip over the image on the right. That's a static image of our web map, and it's very exciting because since it is such a large corridor, it's nice to be able to pan and zoom and orient yourself along the entirety of it. So I'll take you to that in a moment. But just to reiterate, please do go online, engage, greatredwoodtrailplan.org. We're hoping that all of you will take the time to engage with us and give us your feedback immediately. So just as a recap, so how do we plan to get involved, or how do we intend to allow everyone participating this evening and your friends and family to stay involved? The website, newsletters, surveys, web maps, those are all digital tools, but we also have a phone number here as well as an email address. So again, greatredwoodtrailplan.org, and then 707-440-9445. That's a live telephone number, so please go ahead. You can text in or call with questions, comments, concerns, and then also info@greatredwoodtrail.org. Will be able to allow us to take your comments and feedback. And then finally, we've been getting a lot of comments about kind of how can you stay involved, how can you donate, contribute, and support. And so the Humboldt Area Foundation, there's a giving page. Chairwoman Cart had shared this with me, and we'll share it after the fact as well. But a great opportunity to continue to engage and support this project. So a lot of different ways, a lot of different mechanisms to engage. And I'll go ahead and just jump over to the web tool so that we can.
Yeah, it's great, Devin. Let's go to the web tool, and then we'll wrap it up for questions, as we're getting questions coming in from all throughout Northern California. Go right ahead, Devin.
Great.
And as he's getting the web tool up onto the screen here tonight, we want to remind you that you could send in your questions right now, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Devin, take it away and we'll just wrap up.
Great, thanks very much. So briefly here, so this begins with an overview, kind of what the content that we went over tonight. There's some maps that can be reviewed as far as the entire corridor, the vision for the Great Redwood Trail, our timeline, so you can go ahead and reconnect on the schedule, and then community survey, interactive map, things like mailing lists, sign up for events. Those are all on this page. Here's the actual survey itself, so you can go ahead and click through, and I think this is the coolest part. So this is the interactive map portion. So I mentioned you can go ahead and zoom in and out, and the goal here is to document things like, where do you plan to start? So where would your starting point be along the Great Redwood Trail? Where do you want to go? What are the key destinations? What are some of the challenging areas along the corridor? What are some of the opportunities along the corridor? And you can see, you can pan and zoom, and you can go ahead and just start to make your points along the corridor and give us your feedback immediately. So very exciting. We hope that you all will take the time to engage with this tool, give us really important comments, feedback. Just go ahead and document your name, any comments you have, and that'll be extremely helpful for our team. So I'll leave it there, Senator, and pass it back to you so we can go to Q&A.
That's Devin Young with Alta. Look, we promised you that we were going to do this right. I'm sorry that it's taken about 4 years to be able to get to this point, but there's been a lot of work that has taken us to get to where we're at now, and that's hearing from you directly through the Great Redwood Trail Agency. We want to say thank you for your patience. And again, this master plan is going to drive this trail, drive the construction costs, the operating costs, the alignment. It's going to develop our fire safety plan, a security plan, everything that you've been asking us over the past 4 years. We're going to be able to cover in this master plan. And just want to say thank you again, Devin. Thank you so much to Chairwoman Hart, and thank you to our amazing Executive Director, McGuire, for all of the work. All right, we're going to jump into your questions and comments. I promise you, we're going to do a lightning round throughout the remainder of the town hall. So we're going to ask our panelists to be able to keep it to about 30 seconds because we have so many questions that have been coming in. So let's get right into it. Linda writes in, and Linda speaks for quite a few folks. Linda says, are there going to be some places to camp, or will they just allow wild camping? No, we're not going to be able to allow wild camping. So eventually what you're going to see are authorized camping spots throughout the trail. In fact, just last year, which is really exciting, the state, along with the Wildland Conservation Board, just purchased the old Lone Pine Ranch. That's in the middle of the Eel River Canyon, some of the most spectacular land that you've ever seen. It's 30,000 acres. It will have 12 miles of riverfront trail. That's going to be our first authorized campground. You're going to have restrooms there, be able to stock up on provisions and water. This is a game changer for the trail. We hadn't had a location in the middle of the most desolate portion of the trail until we're able to work with the Wildlands Conservation Board to be able to secure Lone Pine Ranch, 30,000 acres in the middle of the Eel River Canyon. So really great news. So let's keep going. Let's go to Devin and Karen. Devin and Karen, Andrew writes in, will the right-of-way be expanded from its current 60 feet centered on the center line of the railroad tracks? So federal law has specific right-of-way from center of tracks. Karen, take it away for Andrew.
Sure. Well, actually, I would say the right-of-way actually varies. In some places it's 60 feet, and in some places it's larger than that. So at this point, that is what we have to work with is our alignment. That's what the Great Redwood Trail Agency owns. Certainly, as we go through the master planning process, if there are areas where it's infeasible, we'll be looking for workarounds, and that will always be either on other public land or perhaps it has to go along the side of a road for a little bit until we could work something else out. Or, if there are other willing landowners, as we know there are, the Wildlands Conservancy is just one of them that you mentioned, Senator. But there are others who are interested in participating as well. And so we'll look for those opportunities when it's not feasible to be in the right of way.
And what we heard from Devin tonight is the vast majority of the old rail right-of-way is pretty damn intact for a trail. That's the good news. There's always going to be an issue with the more desolate areas that we're going to be able to work through. But that's why we have Devin and Alta on to be able to give us that roadmap on how to be able to build. All right, Devin, let's go to Arton. Arton writes in, any accommodations plan for night camping by backpackers? So Devin, we just mentioned Lone Pine Ranch, but talk to us how this has worked throughout the United States. What you've been able to find is, especially in rural communities, bed and breakfast sprout up along trails, campgrounds, authorized campgrounds sprout up. So Devin, take it away. What do you see for camping opportunities? And really these type of trails are game changers. Go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, absolutely. We gave some examples in the presentation, but one that really comes to mind is the Great Allegheny Passage Trail in Pennsylvania, where when that corridor was developed, it really spurred both public as well as private camping, where there was willing landowners adjacent, and then there was public open spaces adjacent as well. And so developing campgrounds along the corridor is something that we're absolutely going to be studying as part of the Great Redwood Trail Master Plan.
And Carol, California has over a $90 billion outdoor recreational economy. Talk about how trails will be economic drivers for these rural communities in which the trail traverses through.
Yeah, thank you so much, Senator. And we've seen this time and time again with the trails that Devin has described. But I think it's worth noting that there's a real evolution of opportunities for private landowners to offer camping on their land through the website HipCamp, not to just advertise it, but also I will say, I've noticed Airbnb and the VRBO, those kind of websites have started recognizing, wow, there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of desire for camping. So I think that for landowners that are on the trail, that are interested in providing camping, this is a whole opportunity for them as well. And I think it's really exciting. So we talk about an economic transformation of the North Coast. I think this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, and Carol, I think as the agency matures, right, and we get through the master plan, we're literally at ground zero right now. Right. I'm sure there will be a program where there will be authorized vendors, right, landowners that work with the Great Redwood Trail Agency as well, so that there could be, the Great Redwood Trail Agency could recommend, right, different areas along the trail to be able to camp or stay. Correct, Carol?
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen the quick and dramatic evolution of apps, whether there go my dogs, surrounding camping. And we don't know where this is going to go, but we know it's just going to keep getting better and help people identify as they're hiking where their overnight spots can be and help them plan their trip along the trail. I just think there's going to be, right now we have this Eel River Preserve / Lone Canyon Ranch, which is just absolutely spectacular right in the middle. So we already have a great spot, but I think for those landowners along the trail that are interested in this, now is the time to reach out to Devin and the team and to ourselves, talk about what you might be interested in.
That's Carol Hart. She is the chairwoman of the Great Redwood Trail Agency. We're now going to go to Karen. Karen, working with the numerous tribal communities along the trail is going to be one of the most important of this master planning process. I say that because Jan writes in. She says that she does not see Indigenous people represented in the leadership of this project. And just being really honest, Jan, we just started. This is literally day one of the master plan. I swear to you, we're going to be working hand in hand with our tribal leaders, throughout the trail, tribal communities, and they're going to have a direct say on how this works. We're going to be working with them on interpretive signage. We're going to be working with them on the trail itself. But Karen, you know best. Take it away.
Well, absolutely. And I think as we have sort of two parallel tracks, I think I mentioned this in my opening remarks, that we have the community engagement plan, and then we also have the tribal engagement plan, because we recognize that tribes are special status, and we need to engage tribes separately, although they will of course be welcome to participate in all the community engagement activities as well. So we will be talking to them early and often, and our discussions will run the gamut from, yes, what you said, Senator McGuire, how do the tribes want to engage in interpreting and providing information for people as they travel along the trail, but also, we need to be sensitive about special places for tribes and how to, avoid areas of conflict and make sure that we have a trail that works for all.
100%. Let's go to Devin. Devin, I'm going to have each of our panelists to stay off of mute, if that's okay for our panelists, just because we're going to move so quickly. We're going to go to Rose's question. Rose writes in, I'm excited for this project. Thank you for moving it forward. Devin, she asks, what modes of recreation will the trail accommodate? Walking, horseback riding, mountain biking, etc. Devin, how do you determine what mode of transportation goes where? Devin, take it away.
Sure. It's a great question. And largely for a corridor that's this long and passes through urban areas, rural areas, it's going to just inherently accommodate different modes. So there may be opportunities in the more backcountry locations to accommodate mountain bikes and to create these long distance things like gravel bike or cyclocross bike packing or bike camping to connect from A to B. Whereas in the urban areas, it may be most important or more geared towards transportation facilities. And so things like e-mobility devices, so electric bikes, the connecting, to and from your job, for instance, might be most important. So that's what we're going to be looking at as part of the Great Redwood Trail Master Plan, Senator, is looking at the depth or the terrain, the locations, and then really assigning or really thinking about programming the corridor so that it's appropriate for those locations.
Devin Young with Alta, they are going to be leading the master plan process. Devin, we're going to stick with you. Anna writes in, Anna says, how will this trail impact the current residents where the tracks go through their residences / their land? Will fences be installed? So Devin, let's first get into it. We're going to be traversing through literally thousands of parcels from Marin all the way up to Humboldt. How are you going to reach out to landowners? What happens when a landowner has some special requests? How is that going to work as we move forward?
Sure. So I think there's kind of two components. The question two, thinking about fencing and just designing to really try and keep people from trespassing, right? And the first step is designing the trail so that it's using landforms, it's using the terrain to its advantage, right? People like to go and they like to walk where or bike where it's easy, right? They're like water, path of least resistance. And so in the instance of the tracks that we're going to be using, that typically provides the kind of most direct, safest, easiest route for those users. And it discourages just naturally people from wandering from the path. And in terms of areas where maybe the natural terrain doesn't work, we will be exploring things like fences or signage to try and discourage people from leaving the trail and trespassing. The Napa Vine Trail, they navigated this as well, and working with their ag resource community to identify and develop signage and appropriate kind of educational information to really educate trail users. They found that to be very successful in keeping people on the trail and using it for its appropriate uses. And then as far as kind of interacting, engaging, so Chairwoman Hart had mentioned the kind of the access the Great Redwood Trail Agency will have. We mentioned things like using apps or information to plan out your route and to camp a hike. We fully expect that there's going to be opportunities to also write text in and continue to let the agency know what and how the trails used well, or if there's any challenges with it. So the idea being that open lines of communication from this point all the way through operation.
No, thank you so much, Devin. And Devin, really great answer. I just want to be aware of time. We have about 412 questions that have now come in. So we're going to need to just do, if we can, just stick into 30 seconds because we're going to have to do lightning round. So here we go. Let's get to as many questions as possible. And I promise this is just the beginning. I swear to you, we're just kicking off this master plan. You're going to see Karen and Carol and Devin and myself, Jason Lyles, and the entire Alta team going from community to community, seeking your input, from tribe to tribe, seeking input, from landowner to landowner, seeking input. So let's go to our next question. Denise writes in. She's a Cloverdale resident. Devin, she wants your take on this. She lives close to the Russian River, and she contends with homeless encampments. So this has been an issue that we've heard a lot about, concern about encampments along the trail. Devin, talk with us about how, I know this is going to be tough in 30 seconds, so why don't we give this a minute, but how have other areas in this nation dealt with our homelessness crisis, and how do you plan for that? Devin, take it away.
Sure, and I'll try to be as succinct as possible, but I want to begin with thinking about kind of urban versus rural and backcountry trails. So Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, these long distance backcountry trails, they don't really contend with these encampments or challenges with people experiencing homelessness. And it's generally in more urban areas. And so in those urban areas, and this is part of the master planning effort, is actually, and I mentioned this in the presentation, developing programs. So engaging with local community-based organizations, identifying things like, or laying out ranger programs that would go not only provide opportunities and provide educational information along the corridor, but also do enforcement as well. So absolutely, that's something that we're going to be considering as part of the master plan.
100%. I want to go to Carol Hart. Carol, our next question is coming in from Brittany. Brittany writes in, what is the best way to organize my local community to help push the project forward? I'm very enthusiastic and want to help. Chairwoman Hart.
Hey, Brittany, thanks so much for your question. I don't know where you live, but all of the board members, they're from all of the different areas of the trail. So if you live in Sonoma County, you can reach out to me, for example. You can reach out to Melanie Bagby, who's up in Cloverdale. If you're up in Humboldt, reach out to Steve. In Marin, you've got Damon, you've got James. So you have all of us, and then you have Karen. So I think, the first step is reach out to your board members, see if we can help. We'll tell you about whatever groups we have. Likewise, Devin, we're putting together the groups of people that we're meeting with. But I think, the cool thing about it is, since we're just at the beginning, we're all creating this together as a community. So my attitude is just do it, just reach out to your neighbors, get together, and then, say, reach out to us. We've got 20 people, we want to help. We want to donate. We want to work. We have some ideas about the app. So I think it's sort of whatever you think, whatever you dream, you can do it, and then reach out to us and we're going to help you.
Thank you so much, Carol Hart, Chairwoman of the Great River Trail Agency. I want to go to Devin and to Karen on this one. Francois Bush writes in, how will the state mitigate the increased risk of fire, safety, vandalism, crime, and impact to community budgets? I don't know if that's a fair assumption, to be really candid about it. I think first and foremost, if we take a look at the top 3 reasons for wildfire in this state, and please, Chairwoman Hart, chime in on this, it's not trail users. Number 1, it's lightning, it's vehicles, and it's PG&E. The largest wildfires in California history, not one of them was started by a trail user. And please fact check me on that. And the way we're going to run this is through the following. Number 1, as part of the Great River Trail Agency's master plan, we're going to do a fire prevention plan. There's literally billions of dollars now available from the state of California for wildfire prevention. And we finally have a functional and funded agency to actually advance wildfire safety programming, vegetation management, dead and dying tree removal along the trail. And in fact, on Lone Pine Ranch, that 30,000 acres that we just talked about, one of the top challenges that they're going to tackle first is ensuring that there is a right-of-way and a fire break along the trail through the Eel River Canyon. So in fact, I actually think this is going to make the trail and the corridor a lot safer. And there's actually an agency that can do weed abatement, that can clean up trash, that will have an organized trail ranger program and security protocols, and that will be advanced. But Karen, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but that is going to be a major focus of as we move forward.
Yeah, and I would just say, in using my 30 seconds, that the master plan is supposed to provide, best management practices that they're bringing to us from their experience across the country on working on these kinds of trails projects. So, how are other communities addressing these issues? What are the best methods that we can start off the bat with? You can't promise there's never going to be a problem on a trail, but you can't promise there's never going to be a problem anywhere, right? I mean, that's life. So we do the best. We plan ahead with what we can. And we move forward and learn as we go and improve as we go. And Devin, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, and I was going to mention too that this, there's an opportunity as well to provide enhanced access for CAL FIRE. So making sure that our design guidelines, design criteria will really support those vehicles as well. So, their pumper trucks, things can get into more rural and remote locations.
100%. Let's go to our next question. Larry writes in, this one is going to be for Devin. Devin, Larry says, is the trail going to exclusively follow the railroad bed from start to finish, or will there be other segments that will be constructed? Again, Devin, not trying to be coy with Larry, but it's to be determined depending on this trail master plan. Devin, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. And Karen, Director Garrett mentioned this earlier. In instances where we have to make those decisions about trade-offs, because let's say there's a slope or a slide, or there's some major infrastructure that's out, and we would look at the kind of cost benefit. In other words, repairing this versus finding a detour. Those are the types of the planning efforts that will be part of this master plan. but just keeping in mind too that any sort of detours, any sort of alternative routes would always be considered publicly owned land or working with willing landowners that are interested in having the trail on their property.
We're about 2,600 strong right now tuning into the Great Redwood Trail Master Plan Town Hall. We want to say thank you so much for joining us. We are getting to as many questions as possible. If you'd like to submit your question here tonight, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. If you're watching on Facebook, simply drop your question into the chat and we'll get to it as quickly as possible. Devin, we're going to come to you, 30 seconds. A lot of repeat questions are coming in. Folks are coming in, coming out of the meeting. Brian writes in, will include potable water and restrooms. Take it away, Devin.
Sure. So that's really part of the master planning process. So where there's instances where we could partner up with either adjacent landowners that are interested in having campers or longer stays along their property, or public lands where there may be existing restrooms. Those are going to be elements where we're going to be trying to find those opportunities. And then generally in and around more urban areas, there may be chances to team up with our city and county partners on the project to kind of pair the Great Redwood Trail development up with other projects that are going on in and along the corridor as well.
Devin, Josh writes in, what surface materials are going to be used on the trail?
Yeah, Josh, so it's going to be a range. There's the examples I gave in my presentation. So some of the crusher fines or crushed aggregate, soft surface trails is going to be something that's going to be largely used in and around the urban areas where we're going to be trying to, connect people to and from jobs. And the trail is going to be more geared towards transportation. It could be a harder surface like asphalt. So a range of material types, really just trying to be responsive to the corridor.
100%. I want to go to Matthew. Matthew writes in, please extend the Great Redwood Trail south of Larkspur to include all of the north-south Greenway in Marin County. This includes segments in Larkspur, Corte Madera, Mill Valley, Sausalito, the federal lands, and Fort Baker, as well as the Marin Headlands. Look, I don't want to speak for Chairwoman Hart, but I think that there is a hope and a desire to be able to get this trail all the way down to the Golden Gate Bridge. And we would love to do this, but there are some very expensive options in front of us, especially on this extreme southern route of what would be the Great Redwood Trail. But the bottom line is, Chairwoman Hart, as we build out the north, we're going to continue to look to the south. And it's not just public funding, but there's also a lot of nonprofit and foundational funding that could be available for building out trails. But Chairwoman Hart, what do you have to say? And we have to obviously work with the SMART train on the southern portion of this.
Yeah, so the SMART train ends at Larkspur, where you can hop on the ferry and go to the city and then access all of the trails and bike lanes and Golden Gate Park and the Embarcadero. There's just amazing explosion of bike infrastructure and of course walking infrastructure in the city. But with regard to Larkspur South, Marin has developed such a great network of trails, and you can see it from Highway 101. I mean, Karen, you're the one that lives down there. I'm sure you have used those trails a multitude of times. So you're really in your 10 remaining seconds can talk about that. But I mean, just access to Mount Tam and that incredible network. And, Marin is just an absolute phenomenal recreational resource.
Yeah, it is. And I think, there could be those opportunities in the future. As the senator mentioned, there's certainly a very expensive tunnel repair that would have to happen between Marin and Corte Madera. I know there are a lot of people who are really excited about that idea, and I think we're all a little stymied by the price tag on it. So I think for now, we're working on the master plan from Mendocino northward. In the future, as we make progress, I think we could look to expanding elsewhere. But I think we're, right now we're working on Mendocino northward, and then coordinating with our friends at SMART as they are building the pathway with the SMART train from Larkspur up to the Sonoma border.
We're taking your questions tonight. Thank you so much. And that is the Executive Director of the Great Redwood Trail Agency, Karen Gear. We are so appreciative of her work. We're taking your questions and comments this evening. If you'd like to be able to send us a comment live, we're taking them live right now. Senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Devin is the senior planner with ALTA. He's going to be focusing on this massive Great Redwood Trail master plan. Tina writes in, how are you going to protect private property, cabins, and outbuildings that are located along the trail? So Devin, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record. We're not reinventing the wheel. Talk to us about what they've done in the past in other states. And then what's your approach here with the Great Redwood Trail?
Sure. I mean, the example, the Katy Trail, 220 miles, over 220 miles of rail trail going through remote location adjacent to property owners, and it's had a lot of success. Chairwoman Hart had mentioned earlier the opportunities that people have found along the Katy Trail, to the benefits of actually having through hikers, through bikers come in and bed and breakfast or stay or camp along the corridor. So we really want to emphasize those opportunities along the corridor, and in instances where people are concerned about trespassing, developing programs, signage, fencing, barriers, things like that to try to discourage people from deviating from the trail. But as I mentioned before, going along the railroad tracks, it's a really nice, even gradual slope, and that's really encourages people to stay along the corridor.
Thank you so much, Devin. That's Devin Young, Senior Trail Planner with ALTA. Devin, we're going to stick with you. We are getting a lot of questions about where folks can find that map. Where can you find the interactive map of the whole trail? Devin, why don't you shout it out a couple of times on where to go to find that map?
You got it. I'll shout it out loud and we'll follow up afterwards as well. But greatredwoodtrailplan.org. So you can go there, and greatredwoodtrailplan.org. Go there and use the interactive map, pan and zoom, go along the entire corridor, make comments about where you want to start your trail ride or your trail hike, and then also what are some of the key opportunities that you want to see the trail connect to. You can also download a PDF of the entire map book as well, and the map book shows the corridor across about 28 or so sheets if you want a little more detail and you want to save that to your desktop.
We're sticking with Devin. He is the senior planner with ALTA, focusing on the Great Redwood Trail Master Plan. Carol writes in, will someone please put up signs stating that people using the trail must be mindful of not polluting, bothering the animals, birds, wildlife, etc. Devin, what say you about Carol's comment?
I think it's an excellent comment, Carol. And education is the step one in advance of enforcement and having a successful trail corridor. And so that's something as part of this master planning effort. Our hopes are to develop a comprehensive wayfinding and interpretive signage family that could be implemented along the corridor. So people, when they're starting on their journey, they can really understand the do's and do nots along the trail corridor. So absolutely great comment. And it's something that we'll be weaving into the master plan.
Jennifer writes in, hey, Jennifer, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in tonight. Karen, going to come to you on this. Do you envision the trail being built segment by segment with grant funding like the coastal trail has been built over the past few decades, or will there be a larger effort to build large sections of trail? Look, Karen, I don't want to speak for you, but I think that's why we're doing the master plan, right? I think what's a little different than what we've seen in the past, there's some money in the bank to be able to build out some larger sections, but we really have to do this master plan to be able to determine the long-term costs. Once we get that cost, then the board can make the decision on how to be able to potentially build out a longer section of the trail. Karen?
Well, I think that's absolutely correct. But I do think the difference between this trail and the coastal trail is that we are getting 170 miles of rail banked ownership in one fell swoop, whereas the coastal trail, we do it, mile by mile as we are able to pick up properties or work with public landowners. So I think getting the ownership all at once gives us the opportunity to move and do bigger things sooner. But the reality is, of course, that we need the folks who are going to be the trail stewards, and we need to work through the technical issues of where there are slumps and slides. So it will be built in sections. The question is, some may be small, some may be big, and as we go along, and we have local partners to work with on them.
And Chairwoman Hart, just 30 seconds, talk to us why it was so important to be able to protect and preserve the line between Willits and Humboldt Bay. This gets to Karen's point on how we can build this out faster and more efficiently. Carol.
Yeah, it's totally different, although equally magnificent to the coastal trail because of what Karen just said. And I don't think we can drive that home enough, that we own the right of way. We now own the right of way, and we have now beaten back all threats, so that from Willits all the way, essentially, around Humboldt Bay, the Surface Transportation Board has given us the green light to develop the trail on the right of way that we own. So, people are concerned a lot about costs, but the reality is most of the costs and delays around trails are buying the land so that you can continue the trail. But we already have that, and that's what makes this opportunity so unique, that for all of these years, ever since this trail was acquired, that NCRA, if they did one thing right, they maintained the trail corridor. So now we have it to develop. But, I do want to throw one thing in, Senator, that we haven't talked about that I'm really excited about as a kayaker, is that this trail runs along, one of the most beautiful stretches of river. So you can kayak, you can raft, and you can enjoy the river itself, pull off at the Eel River Preserve, we've been calling Lone Pine, the Eel River Preserve that's owned by the Wildlands Conservancy, and have a tremendous experience that way. So we're talking about horses, bikes, hiking, and we're also talking about kayaking and rafting, which is a whole nother economic opportunity. So that just adds to it. The Eel River is a spectacular river for that sort of experience. And I've done it, and it is fantastic.
That's Carol Hart. She is the chairwoman of the Great Redwood Trail Agency. We are grateful for her leadership. I'm going to answer this first, and I'm going to turn it over to the chairwoman. Kelly Lincoln from K-Mud News writes in, is there a way we can have both a skunk train and a trail? Is there a way to share a section of the right-of-way? So, Kelly, thank you so much for your question. I think it's important to point back to the federal government. So the Surface Transportation Board had both the Great Redwood Trail application and the skunk trains application in front of them. They reviewed literally hundreds of documents. And it was the federal government that came down and said, and this is an exact quote, because Mendocino Railway has not demonstrated financial responsibility, Mendocino Railway's application will be rejected and the application process concluded. And the reason why I quote the federal government, the regulators, is they did not believe that they had the funding to be able to build out the 13 miles of line that they wanted, Willits North. So the Surface Transportation Board made a data-driven decision. All sides made their case, and the board reviewed literally hundreds of documents. And I'll just say they made it very clear that, and again, I love the skunk train. I have nothing personal about the skunk train. I look forward to taking my son to the skunk train. It's one of the best tourism excursion trains in the state. And the federal government made it very clear that the skunk train didn't have the finances to build out the line, and candidly, they weren't qualified. But Chairwoman Hart, I just wanted to see if you had anything you wanted to add.
Yeah, I just want to add to that the Coastal Commission did file a brief or a document in the STB proceeding, and they focused on how important the corridor is that the skunk train was seeking to acquire from an environmental perspective, that along Outlet Creek, there haven't been trains there for over 20 years because embargoed or prohibited for rail use by the federal government. And there's quite a bit of detail about the number of endangered and threatened species that live in the creek and the river. And what is the impact of beginning rail use, even assuming you could ever restore it? The vibration and the intensity would inevitably cause more slides into that creek, more erosion, more damage. There is a reason that the federal government, which is generally so pro-rail, says you cannot use this rail line, and that's for the entire 300 miles. So I think that has a lot to do with it. In my mind, the skunk train has, as Senator just said, They have a great route through the Redwoods. They have a great experience for their customers. And I think that this is an experience that really at this point is meant for the kind of uses that we've been discussing tonight.
That's Carol Hart, the chairwoman of the Great Redwood Trail Agency. Devin, let's talk dogs. I am not exaggerating. We probably have 3-4 dozen questions that have come in this evening about, am I going to be able to take my dog on the trail? Barbara writes in, and Barbara is representative of many dog lovers. I have a pug of my own. She says, will Basha and Penny, her dogs, be welcomed on the trail? Devin, that's part of the master plan. Take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. The programming of the trail, how the trail will be used, is a vital piece of this master plan. I will just say, though, that the vast majority of rail trails across California and the United States do allow dogs and do allow people to take their dogs on the trail itself. So we'll determine that as we go through the master planning effort. But if there's examples to draw on, you'll likely have an opportunity to bring your dog, if not on all of the trail, at least on portions of it.
I'm going to please, Karen, go
and
right
I would just add that the segments of trail that have already been constructed around Humboldt Bay and Ukiah, I believe dogs are allowed on all of those trails already. So
100%. Karen, we're going to stick with you. How Lynn writes in, and we're getting a lot of questions on this. How soon can construction of the trail begin? What is the expected cost? So I just want to make it clear. Karen, please push back on me. I mean, we've seen a lot of the trail, especially in cities, already constructed. Really where we're going to be focusing is in the outlying or more desolate areas, the backcountry areas of the trail. So Karen, best case scenario, what is in your gut? You're breaking out the crystal ball. Once the master plan comes back, how soon do you think we're going to start seeing construction, especially from Willits North?
So I think it is a very hard question to answer. I think that there are sections that are, as we said, there are already some structures that are being built. There's some around Humboldt Bay being built right now as we speak. There's another segment in Humboldt Bay that will start construction next year, and I'm further planning for Humboldt Bay moving forward this fall. So, those ones will move forward more quickly. In terms of the canyon, I think, as we've all heard, we have a very willing participant with the Wildlands Conservancy, and they're very interested in getting people out onto their property sooner rather than later. Now that segment won't be connected, in the next few years to other segments. We've got a lot of issues to work with and deal with some collapsed tunnels and other issues that are, challenging from a technical perspective. But I think they are going to, within the year, the planning to open up their preserve to public access. And so people will be able to at least get onto the preserve and then get down to the river and hike along those 12 miles of river, within the next couple of years.
All right, thank you so much. Karen Geer, she is the executive director of the Great Redwood Trail Agency. We got about 10 more minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to try to get to as many questions as possible. If you were to see the other side of this laptop, there are just questions coming in left and right. So let's keep it going. I'm going to go to Maureen. Maureen writes a comment in, would love to see small inns, restaurants along the line, similar to hiking in Switzerland or Europe. Chairwoman Hart, that's your vision as well, correct?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's the idea here, is the North Coast has taken such a beating and, over time. And through this vision of Senator McGuire's, I think it's a real opportunity to develop along this trail, these kind of things, whether it's restaurants, whether it's B&Bs, whether it's pop-ups, whatever. And, again, I was talking about the river, and it's not just a matter of kayaking and everything. I think one of the things I always return to the fun, which is swimming. Swimming in that river is just the best. So it's a great spot there at the Eel River Preserve. It's we can be so serious and talk about hiking, biking, and the master plan, but it's going to be such a fun experience for everyone. And I think that's so important as we launch this, just to realize what a gift this thing is going to be.
Oh my God, well said. It's something I think we look past, in being able to have that experience in the river and fishing.
It's incredible.
Right? Oh, it's
right.
Gonna be spectacular.
It's going to be great.
Devin, a lot of controversy about bikes. So allowing e-bikes and traditional mountain bikes and hikers, a lot of advocacy tonight about allowing bikes on the trail. Devin, how does this work? How do you square with bikes, no bikes, hiking, equestrian? Devin, talk us through how the master plan is going to study this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's largely going to look at use and needs in and along the corridor. It's a long corridor with a lot of different physical conditions to navigate. And one of the big pieces of the master plan is going to be looking at that corridor in detail and identifying how it should be programmed, how it should be managed, what devices. So is it, you said electric bikes, is it electric mountain bikes, walking, biking, equestrian use, how that's going to be managed and where it's going to be most appropriate. So those are all elements of the master plan. We're going to be working through that. Largely, I mentioned the schedule, the listen and learn stages, which is where we are now. So we're going to be hearing that feedback. And then in about 12 months' time, as we start moving into developing recommendations, that's where we're going to be coming out with those recommendations on where we would envision different uses and how that would look along the entirety of the corridor. So stay tuned and please give us your feedback, because a lot of it actually relies on your input, and we want to be responsive and make sure that the corridor is something that works for everybody, for all users. So let us know.
I'm going to have Devin pull up the timeline in his PowerPoint in just a moment, because we're getting questions about timeline. And Devin, I'm going to, as people come in and come out of the meeting, I want to have you hit that hard here in just a moment. But as Devin is pulling that up, Karen, let's go to Douglas. He asked, how will the master plan coordinate with the SMART portion of the Great Redwood Trail? We're looking north first, then south, but Karen, take it away.
Yeah, so the charge for the Alta consultants on this are from the Mendocino border north, but we are already coordinating with our compatriots at SMART and they have done a great job already of building a lot of the pathway and have a lot of it in the works and the design. So in fact, just on Saturday, I was at a dedication event for them opening a section in Petaluma, which was really exciting and lots of enthusiasm, and there were dogs and kids on bikes and people walking, and it was a great happy day for them to open that section. So we are looking to work with them to coordinate on signage and sort of the branding of the trail, so people know that when they're on the SMART pathway, they're actually on part of the Great Redwood Trail. And that's a process we're going to be working over the next couple of years with them to bring us all in alignment.
100%. That's Karen Gear, the Executive Director of the Great Redwood Trail Agency. Devin is going to be pulling up our timeline. Devin, take it away, 60 seconds. Just a quick recap on what we can see for the next 24 months.
Yeah, great. So here we are now, fall of 2022. I mentioned we're in that listening and learning phase. So this is really kicking off our engagement and outreach efforts. So I mentioned greatredwoodtrailplan.org, where we have an interactive web tool. You can leave comments, feedback, but we're also going to be having those kitchen table meetings, those focus group meetings, where we're going to be coming to you. Director Gear had mentioned that we've just started to dig into our engagement plan and really identify what the next 3, 6, 12 months look like for engagement. And then, of course, we've developed and pulled together our technical advisory committee. So these are the potential operators and experts in and along the corridor. So we're going to be engaging with them. So then looking ahead, if you look out 8, 10, 12 or so months, that's when we're going to be moving into that building consensus and developing recommendations phase. So Director Garrett talked about the notion of prioritizing segments and implementing different segments. So this is our first crack at really understanding how we're going to evaluate those segments and then prioritize them. This is also the opportunity where we're going to take all that information we heard about electric bikes, about walking dogs, about camping along the corridor, and start to develop some trail guidelines. So that's our opportunity there to really kind of reflect back what we heard from you all on appropriate trail guidelines. From there, we move in the summer of 2023 into this refinement phase. And that's where we're actually going to be looking at some of these priority segments and developing conceptual designs for them. So that would be actually digging into design, looking at short segments, long segments, trying to find the best bang for our buck and really design out portions of the corridor. That's also we're going to be refining our criteria. And then moving into 2024 is when we're going to be presenting that draft master plan and then eventually the final master plan. So that's a snapshot for those that are interested in the schedule. And I will say that it also is available on greatredwoodtrailplan.org. It's there. You can download it yourself and come back to it whenever you need it.
Thank you so much. That's Devin Young. He is the senior trail planner on this project. I want to go to Carol Hart. We have a few minutes left. We're going to be wrapping up, and we just want to say how grateful we are that you've tuned in tonight. An exciting evening for the Great Redwood Trail, right? It's something that we've been in the planning stages for 4 years, and we're finally at the master plan. And I think, Chairwoman Hart, a lot of folks have been hearing about the Great Redwood Trail and thinking, what the heck happened to the project? Well, literally, we had to fight to wind down the nearly bankrupt former public agency. We had to pay off their damn debt, which is more frustrating than I can imagine. And I can't use the words of frustration on tonight's broadcast because it's a family-friendly broadcast. And then we had to be able to secure the right-of-way. And this gets to Sherry's question. She says, as an 80-something, I hope I live long enough to enjoy the trails. You say 24 to 36 months, but that doesn't include the months, years required to get the right-of-ways. Director Hart, the great news is we got the right-of-way. And that is the difference between the Great Redwood Trail and so many other trails across the country. We're going to have 175 miles of right-of-way here in the coming couple of weeks. Director Hart, talk to us how that happened.
Yeah, so the process of that we have just gone through that we've been discussing tonight is that the Northern California Rail Authority was the owner of this right-of-way going back over 20 years. There was a landslides, there was erosion, there was literally rail cars falling into the river, all sorts of environmental damage and physical infrastructure damage. The trail was, it's called embargoed by the federal government, which is an indication or a requirement that the trail no longer be used for rail. There was a vision that was put forward by Senator McGuire to create the Great Redwood Trail. Our team came together little by little. The board transformed to the board of the Great Redwood Trail Agency that I talked about tonight. And we began the rail banking process, which has now concluded this very night with the issuance of what's called an interim or a trail usage I wish I could, there's so many acronyms in the STB world, but leave it to say that it's full speed ahead for the creation of this trail from Willits North. It's been rail banked. We're going to do the master plan and we're going to move forward as carefully, but as efficiently and hopefully quickly as we can to get people out on the trail. So we own it. And it's just a matter of planning, outreach, particularly, and then moving forward with building the trail.
That's Carol Hart, the chairwoman of the Great Redwood Trail Agency. Devin, we're going to do a couple more questions. A lot of questions coming in. Lack of cell service, right? The North Coast is famous for lack of cell service, right? We're a remote region once you get behind the Redwood curtain. So if a trail user gets hurt, how does that work? How has that worked? Again, I don't mean to keep using this term, everybody who's tuning in tonight, but we're not reinventing the wheel. So how does it work when someone gets hurt on the trail in a desolate part, whether it's the Appalachia Trail or the Coastal Trail, and how do you work with emergency authorities? Devin Young.
Sure. A lot of it comes down to wayfinding in and along the corridor itself. It's remote. So really kind of demarcating and outlining and creating points along the corridors is really critical. As part of that wayfinding, we've actually found remote, rural, rugged trails to have a lot of success using things like Bluetooth beacons, the little almost kind of minor Wi-Fi hotspots in really remote locations that are operated using solar panels and allow for being in and around those panels to be able to actually have cell access and remote in. So really creating that wayfinding system and creating those emergency access points so that you can tell emergency providers where you are, and then also using new technology wherever possible can be a really successful way of creating a safe and comfortable journey, even in the most remote locations.
And Devin, when I go, every other summer backpacking in Desolation Valley, We always check in with the ranger station. We let them know when we're going in, coming out, right? Our phone number, et cetera, where we parked our car. And I think the same could be said for the most remote sections of the Great Redwood Trail. Devin?
Absolutely. And that's part of, we've talked about it this evening, but educating the trail users, right? So at the trailhead itself. So giving them appropriate information on what to expect in and along the corridor, and leaving their emergency contact information when they've left, when they plan to get back, what route they plan to travel. Those are all going to be components, absolutely, as part of this Great Redwood Trail master plan, but just inherently as part of the trail itself. So it is safe for all users, even in the most remote locations. Although, Senator, I'm sure that you would never need help in the desolation wilderness. I'm sure you just hike right through.
Yeah, as I hike out with a broken arm twice. So yes, exactly. So living the dream right there. Thanks, David, for bringing up bad memories. And I'm the only one in my family that ever breaks a bone. So I'm the weak one. You know what happens when that is and zombies attack. So hey, as we get TMI here, I want to quickly go to Karen. Karen, there's folks in Mendocino, they're asking, when does Ukiah get connected to Willits? So how does that process work, and how are you going to, and feel free to chime in, Chairwoman Hart, on how the board will evaluate that.
So yeah, I think I may defer to Chairwoman Hart on this, but it is a separate process that we need to go through with the Surface Transportation Board. It's sort of a phase 2, and I don't know, Director Hart, would you like to talk more about it?
Sure. I mean, I think we're in celebration mode. It's been quite a haul to get to this point, and I think we're going to regroup. We have a variety of options, but one thing is clear: the southern half from Willits down to Cloverdale needs to be rail banked, and before it can become part and open, and we can move forward with the master plan on the southern section. There's so much demand. We've heard from the people, particularly of Ukiah, that they are so anxious to get their trail expanded and built. The use and the demand is so strong down there. So this is a huge priority for the board, for our team, for our lawyers, who I just can't emphasize enough how spectacular they are. They've been amazing to look at the southern end, and we'll be figuring out what's the best approach, but it will need to be rail banked. But we've seen how quickly it can happen with the STB, with the right approach. And I think the indication is that they understand that this is a huge priority for the state of California. You know, we have two rounds of legislation signed by the governor, significant funding, and incredible public support. So we're going to forge ahead with that in the immediate future.
Carol Hart, she is the chairwoman of the Great Redwood Trail Agency. Chairwoman Hart, I want to stick with you. Lori Lynn writes, and I know we talked about this, but Lori Lynn says it's important to engage with tribal leaders every step of the way on this project. So she says, what relationships are already in place? And obviously there's going to be meaningful collaboration with tribal communities and tribal leaders. But Director Hart, you have as a former regional parks director, this is one of your top priorities. Director Hart, take it away, because it's absolutely critical for the future success of this trail.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I wanted to add to what Director Geer said earlier is that the STB's ruling from today has a variety of criteria and indications of what we need to do as we move forward. And one of those is outreach to all of the tribes that have been identified by Devin. But historically, when I was the director of regional parks, that was one of the main tasks of the Regional Parks Department. And we entered into the only existing co-management agreement, in this case between the Federated Indians of Great and Rancheria at Tole Regional Park. This is the kind of model and the kind of outreach that is our starting point, absolutely. And I think for those tribal members or those that are interested in tribal issues that are listening tonight, it starts at the state level, that it's a priority of the governor, of the legislature, of the Conservancy, and of this agency. Absolutely. The tribes have so much to offer us, and we hope that we have something to offer to them in terms of introducing people to this amazing landscape, which frankly the tribes are responsible for taking care of for eons. So I think this is going to be a very exciting opportunity to reach out to the tribes and work with them.
That's Carol Hart, the chairwoman of the Great Redwood Trail Agency. Devin Young, senior planner for Alta. Did you want to comment on this as well? Because this is going to be part of the outreach plan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Chairwoman Hart captured it perfectly. I mean, I think just beginning, and Director Gear mentioned it as well, we've developed our engagement plan, but also our tribal engagement. And those are running in parallel and really our priority. So that's where we're starting today. And we're in that listening and learn phase where we can gather all that outreach and input right at the outset.
Devin Young, he is with Alta Design. He is the lead planner for Alta and the Great Redwood Trail Master Plan. We cannot say thank you to Devin enough. You're going to be seeing a lot of Devin here in the coming months and years. He is going to be trekking up and down the North Coast, seeking your opinion, your feedback on the Great Redwood Trail. I'm going to say thank you so much, Devin, here this evening. I also want to say thank you to Karen Gear. Karen is the executive director of the Great Redwood Trail Agency. We would be lost without her. She is truly one of the best when it comes to open space preservation, watershed preservation, and management of environmental agencies. And we are so lucky to be able to have her as the head lead staff, the executive director of the Great Redwood Trail Agency, and of course to Carol Hart. Carol, I cannot say thank you enough. I love working with you. The North Coast is so lucky that you've decided to be able to call this amazing place home. Director Hart, Chairwoman Hart, I want to give you closing comments, please.
Well, I just have to turn it back to Senator McGuire. How lucky are we to have someone with such a vision? I remember when I worked with you at Regional Parks, and it was so much fun and we had such a great time there, but who would have ever thought all these years later that you would have had this vision, passed legislation, gotten the funding? I mean, seriously, I have to turn it back to you. And to be at this moment of real victory, we are just sort of, all of us, just so happy in these times to have something. I think every morning, what do you really want in life besides your love but joy, joy. And I think that all of us here tonight can feel that sense of joy that we have this amazing opportunity to look forward to. And I really hope to our 80-year-old plus people that have tuned in that they are going to get out on this trail. They are going to see the phenomenal Eel River Canyon and the Founders Grove and enjoy what this trail will have to offer. We're going to do our best to make sure that that happens. So thank you so much, Senator McGuire, and to everyone that I work with. It's just an incredible group of people.
We love you, Carol. And I just got to say, and I'm going to get emotional, just feel really grateful about where we're at and where we're going to go. It is a phenomenal day for the North Coast. This is good for the environment. It's good for the future generation of this community, and it will be good for our economy. And how many times in life can you say that it is a trifecta? And we are so grateful to Carol Hart for her leadership. And I also want to say thank you to Jason Lyles, who works in our office, one of my best friends. Has just been phenomenal in his advocacy. He's been tenacious in ensuring that this moves forward through every obstacle that's been thrown at us. So I'd be remiss if I did not say thank you to the fixer, Jason Lyles, for all of his work, truly, Lyles, and he's behind the scenes tonight working this as well. And we've always been honest with you. We have always said that creating the Great Redwood Trail, it wasn't going to be quick and it wasn't going to be easy. And I agree with a lot of folks. It's a hugely ambitious project. It's 320 miles long and involves multiple cities, dozens of communities, 4 counties, multiple tribes, state agencies, as well as the federal government, and the list could go on. But let's not forget how we got here. We got here because of a lot of hard work by thousands of people across the North Coast. This was a vision of so many decades ago. And now, thanks to their hard work, laying the foundation, we're finally here. Today, the federal government essentially gave us the green light to build a trail over 175 miles, the first 175 miles of the 320. Just 4 years ago, we could have never imagined that we'd be at this point. Who would have thought that we'd have Devin Young going through an interactive map about where you want to go walk on the Great Redwood Trail? But we're here because of you. We're here because of this amazing place that we call home. And it's also important to mention that the state has already invested over $50 million to fund various portions of the Great Redwood Trail in Eureka and in Arcata, Fortuna, Willits, Ukiah, Healdsburg, Santa Rosa, Petaluma, Novato, San Rafael, and other communities along the line. Are there going to be obstacles in the future? Are there going to be problems that we're going to need to work through? You're damn right there will be. But just like what we have faced every step of the way, we push through those obstacles. We bring forward innovative solutions to the toughest challenges. And this is what working as a team is all about. And frankly, if you look at what we've already overcome, we're actually in the home stretch. And the reason I say that is the federal government just gave us the green light on the 175 miles of line stretching from Willits to Samoa. We are going to create together the most remarkable trail in America. Now, the only way we can do that, though, is with you. So remember to sign up for all of the email maps and the volunteer days. And yes, there will be volunteer days coming up. If you have not gone to greatredwoodtrailplan.org, do so. Fill out the questionnaire, come to a community meeting, and get involved. This is going to be built by people. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight. I want to say thank you to Kai and Abby and Lyles and Carrie and Rich, who are behind the scenes, who made tonight a possibility. And thank you to the hundreds of folks who sent in questions. Thank you to the over 2,700 who tuned in tonight. I promise you, we're going to get this trail done. And we have finally kicked off the master plan. And we are grateful for your hard work, your advocacy, and we look forward to keeping you updated here in the months and years to come. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much. We look forward to working with you. Go to greatredwoodtrailplan.org. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much.